Why, hello there. What's up, Losh? How's it going? Hey, Wing Chun. Glad you could join. Hey, Benjamin. Glad you're here. What's up, Casey? How you doing? Some rude noise. Hello. Hello, hello. How y'all doing? All right. Last chapter was pretty exciting, no? Guo was just beating up this entire sect. Like, he's not even breaking a sweat. All right. Love the new video? Oh, thanks. I like it too. Politely beating the entire sect. Yeah. If I were a young Guo, I'd be like, Uncle Guo Jing, maybe we should go to another sect. I'm not really excited about learning martial arts from this sect. Let's go to Shaolin or something. All right. All right. Can we pump this out quick? You have to become a monk, though. A small price to pay. All right. Ready? Oof. If there's like one vowel, there's almost always a Y, isn't there? And the Y is often at the end. Is it taffy? Tanny? Tacky? Tatty? Taffy? Taffy. Oof. Oh, no. Is there a lot of possibilities here? Tall. 20. That's the thing, right? Oh, no. Tabby? A tabby cat? A tabby? Taggy? No, tatty? Tawi. Toddy. Toddy? Tanny. Is that a word? Tawdry. Toddy. Tally. Taggy. Taggy? No. Huh. This sounds like a word. Should I try it? Oh no, is it tabby? Oh! This sounds like a word. Ah! Tabby? Tatty? Tatty. Tazzy. It's the only thing I can think of. Don't know what else to do. Taggy? No. Tabby. Tabby. That's a word. Tazzy. Taxi. Taxing. Woo! Ah! Oof! Got lucky there. What's up, Nikki? How's it going? Tawny definition? I have no idea. What is tawny? Orange, brown, or yellowish brown color. Ah. And here's an actress. Tawny kitten. Wait. All right. What's up, Sal? How's it going? Let's go. All right. Can I do this? What? Why? Sine, clear, pro, square, saw, AB, ab, triangle, bell, came, drum, pay, sub, settle, rattle, conquered. Oh, I see square and triangle. I don't think that's it though. Pro, clear, sine, a sine wave, rattle wave, a subwave, subway, square. Oh, a wave, a sine. There's a square wave, a triangle one, a bell curve. You would call it though. A saw wave, I think. Wow. Not even close. Oof. Settle. Settle, pay, clear, and what else? Square? Yes. Sub, drum, sine, saw. Bell, bell curve. Sine curve? No one calls it that though. Professional. Suboptimal. Subscription. Proscription. Camescription. I-scription. AB testing. Drum. Triangle. Oh, hold on. Triangle. There's a AB. Sine. Sine is A over hypotenuse, no? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. I don't think this has to do with that though. AB, I. 1. 1. I. What? Saw. I see. Oh, I saw, I came, I conquered. I saw, I came, I conquered. Oh my god! Can you believe that? How did I do that? Bell, sine, triangle. What? Subpar. Pro? Ab? Drum? Submarine. Drum? Bell curve. Sine curve. AB curve? Triangle? Triangle has 3 sides. What? Drum and rattle? Bell? Oh, things that can make sounds, I think. A triangle, a rattle, a drum, and a bell. Yes? Hell yeah! What is this? What? Are you kidding me? No one's gonna get this. What's up, guys? Hey, Psyduck, how's it going? Prefixes. Who's gonna get this? This is too hard. You're sick, but you have pho? Oh, ho, ho, ho. I love pho. How's your pho? Yeah, that's pretty good for when you're sick. It's like a comfort food. Are you saying you didn't learn Latin in school? I'm an expert in Latin. I know all the Latin words. Every single one. Ab sign. Yeah, what's sign in Latin? Fa sine, wave, cosine, tangent. Semper. Mineral. Oh, that worked. Rock, stone. Animal, plant, matter, forest. Okay, tree, leaves, grow, green. Timer is going. Oh shit. Oh no. We couldn't learn Latin in your school? Too many demon? Yeah. Fell. Forest, leaves, canopy. Oh. What about a rainforest? Rain. How about flora? Fauna. Element. Fire. Wait, element. Element. Water. Stream. Bed. Bank. River. No. Hill. Ground. Tree. Trees. Light. Moon. Sun. Flower. What? Earth. Terrain. Soil. How about garden? Ground, eh? Dirt. Plant. They would try that. Lightning. Lightning. Growth. Grow. Mounting. Gravel. How about pebbles? Ant. Floor. Oh, the forest floor. Covering. Covering. House. Pavement. Roof. Covering. Cover. Canopy we tried. Grass. Twig. Branch. Greenhouse. Covering. Foliage. Skin. Shade. Carpet. Covering, eh? Tarp. Lid. Roof we tried. Jacket. Covering. A covering. How about an umbrella? How about a tent is good. Roofing. Pool. Shall. Go. Do. Hunt. Sleep. Snow. Storm. Drought. Shingle. Covering. Chimney. Huh. What else do you cover? Embarrassment. How do you spell embarrassment? 5 minutes? Oh no. Enclosure. Net. Shame. Covering. Oof. How about clothes? Outer. Wear. Layer. Hammock. Hammock. Duck. Border. Wait. Border. Ducking and covering. Duck. Ducking. Ducking. Sheath. Shield. That is not a word. Shield. Close. Towel. Insulate. Encapsulate. I like that. Nope. Dress. Insure. Insure. Yeah. Towel. What do you mean? Road. Storage. What? Covering, eh? Covering. 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 How about a car? Truck? Fabric? Maybe a sheet? Maybe some bed sheets? Maybe some pillows? Drape? Clothes we try. A tapestry? I like that. Drapery? 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 Protect? Fungus. Covering. It's covered in what? Snow, ice, layer, burrow. Covered in diamonds, leaves, ground covering, fabric covering, insulate, wrapping, sauce, like a soy sauce, maybe some soup, maybe some MSG. Thinking of maybe some beef. Land. Country. Real estate. That's 2 words. Estate. Real. Distance. Beef. Span. Territory. Land, territory. What else? County. State. Space. Area. Oh, perimeter. Volume. I don't think so. Fiefdom. Fence. Province. City. Area. Jurisdiction. District. Area. Land. Space. Mall. Meter. Volume we tried. Space. An area. Vicinity. A county we tried. Acreage. Wait. Oh my god, did I spell that right? That's amazing. Plot of land. Place. Kilometer. Acre. Acre. Locale. Acreage. Acre. Meter. Meters. Building. Foot. Feet. Acre. Field. Hectare. Yard. Okay, is it an area of land? What else do you call it? A block. Distance. Chunk. Square. Oh my. We didn't guess that. Good job. Good job. Square works. Yeah. What are the other words? SQ works. Okay. Acres. Wait. What the hell's a quare? 10 minutes 54. Hell yeah. Wait, what is a quare? Have you heard of that? You're in a quare mess. Wait. So wait, it has nothing to do with area? Inventing new shapes? Yeah, what is a quare? Queer. Oh. It means queer. But what is that? Has nothing to do with this. Really? Great. Remarkable. A quare with one rounded corner. That has nothing to do with shapes. What's a key to? Wait, where'd you get that? There's a planet key to? I don't know what that is. On the Semanto list. Key to? What? What? How? Wait, how do we go? Key to unit. It is not a unit. It's a planet. That's weird. Seems unrelated. Arcaded. Lettable? What are these words? Lettable? Tsubo? The Japanese? Oh, a vase. Tsubo is a vase. Okay, I see. I don't get it. Wait, what are these words? Guys, Zocalo. Fedans? I don't understand. Donum? Zocalo is a good one. What is Zocalo? A Zocalo is like an agora. Thanks. The place. What? Dictionary. We're learning hello words. It's a public square. Oh. A plaza. Okay. I guess it's a Spanish word? Or it came from Spanish? Yeah, the first question is what are those words? The second question is why are they related to square? Oh wait, hold on. A square, Zocalo. That works. But what about the other ones? Tsubo? Kitu? It's a planet, babe. Planet. Alright. Semantel's cheating? I don't appreciate this, Semantel. Alright. Whew. All the ads are gone. Thank God. Are you ready? I have this. Huh? How you like that? This is Shiruko. Shiruko. What is Shiruko? I have no idea. What is this? What does that look like? 6.1? You're already deciding that is not good? Psyduck? Why? Moruko? I think it's Shiruko. No? Moruko? No? Shiruko. You've had them? Oh, okay. Psyduck is psychic. The bag's already open. It's not. Don't lie. Alright, I feel like this would taste pretty generic, but we'll see. Actually, smells... has some kind of a smell. Mmm. Oh, you know what this is? It's a chestnut. A bit of a burnt chestnut type of smell. Okay. It's alright. Maybe like a 6.5. She or mo. That's definitely a she, right? Doesn't look like a mo to me. That's a she. Yeah, 6.5. Isn't chestnut mo? You think so? Moruko. Moruko. Moruko? Alright, let's look it up. Moruko. Moruko meaning. Are you sure? Food. Matsunaga. Matsunaga? Oh. You guys don't believe me. You guys don't believe me. What is this? What is this? Why does it say Shiruko? Huh? Huh? What is this? Shiruko sand. What is that? What does that mean? Don't see a mo. Must be a typo. You're a typo. Alright, let's go. Let's see. Maybe they have the Japanese. Oh, sorry guys. Wait, what now? What now? Do you see this? Do you see this? Let me zoom in on this right here. Right here. Do you see it? Do you see it? What is that word? What is that character? A typo? You're a typo. All right. You know, just for that, I think I'm gonna bump this up to a 6.6. What a great snack. Call the company and make them say it? I don't have to do that. We see the letters right there. All right. That's a 6.6 if I've ever seen one. Right. Actually, this makes me want to drink water. Listen to me, mug. Yeah, you like it? Ho 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 ho. All right. You drew possum for me in that mug. All right, you ready? What happened last week? Last week, Guo Jing is taking young Guo to the Chen sect so that he can study martial arts there. On the way, they meet these two Chen Taoists, okay? But these Taoists, they're kind of aggressive and they attack him. Guo Jing tries to explain, but he's Guo Jing and the Taoists don't listen, so they keep attacking him. Guo Jing has zero problems beating them, but he makes sure not to injure them. They run away, but before they do, they call Guo Jing a lewd villain. All right, and from their words, it seems like people have been coming up the mountain to their sect to kind of prove something to this Miss Long person because they want to marry Miss Long. Okay, I think that's all we kind of understand from the situation. So something's happening. After the two Taoists run away, Guo Jing and Yang Guo continue on towards the sect. On the way, Guo Jing has to fight four more Taoists and then seven Taoists in their Big Dipper formation, and he just runs circles around them, literally. After beating them, he finds that Yang Guo is gone, and he figures that the boy was captured by the Taoists, but he figured that the Taoists wouldn't harm a child, so he continues on. Faced with, he's faced with a whole army. Okay, they're like 98 Taoists arranged in two large Big Dipper formations. Okay, and each position of the large Big Dipper formation is another smaller Big Dipper formation with 7 people. Okay. So meaning like you would have a group of 7 people in the Big Dipper formation, but they're part of this bigger Big Dipper formation with each position having a group of another 7 people in each position. Does that make sense? Something like that. And they got 2 of those large Big Dipper formations, so 98 people in all. The Guo Jing has to fight them, and he does. He fights them for a bit, then he runs through them, and he hops over this large pool to the other side. And the Taoists that were pursuing him, they fall into the pool. Some can't swim, like others are diving in to rescue people. It's a big mess. So basically, Guo Jing defeats all 98 Taoists in formation. Okay, now, I'm not sure why Yang Guo would want to train in this sect anymore, really. Like, kind of embarrassing, guys. That's where we left off. How's that? I should do a holiday giveaway. Winner gets my address. That's okay. I'm good with that, Sal. Winner finds out what the possums put in for me. Yeah. Where are those possums nowadays, I wonder? Do I think Miss Long is Hua Zheng? You think so? The possums started their own YouTube channel. I'd watch. I'd watch them run around in that park. It was a nice park that I left them, okay? It wasn't like I threw them somewhere unpleasant. It's a nice park. I'm sure they're having a grand old time. Or they ran into someone else's attic. Who knows? Watch them try to break into other houses? Yeah. All right. Okay. God, I hate having one monitor. God. It's so hard to click around. Imagine they make a formation of all the signs. They make a huge one called the Milky Way formation. That'd be good. All right. Chapter 4. Disciples of the Chenjin sect. Part 1. Guojing shook off the Taoists who were surrounding him and, drawing a deep breath, raced towards Chongyang Palace. Suddenly, the clamorous tolling of a bell echoed from within. Oh yeah, so apparently, yeah, we saw that there was a fight or something in Chongyang Palace too. So Guojing is not the only stranger to the sect at this day, on this day. You're starting your homework, Sal? Okay, well, good luck. At this hour? The sound was urgent, clearly an alarm. Looking up, he saw flames shooting skyward from the courtyard behind the temple. Startled, he thought, "So, the Chen Chen sect truly faces an all-out attack today. I must hurry to help." Oh, Losh, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Didn't have to do that. That's going to pay for my entire monitor. I'm waiting for Black Friday because I have other things to buy too. So I'll just lump it all up into a single purchase, hopefully. Maybe I'll get some deals. Goodwill monitor. Yeah, I bet that Goodwill has like those CRT monitors. Those heavy, gigantic ones. I don't think they'll fit on my desk. I need to pull my desk out a bit. Monitor from 2007. Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, remember when you had to, when you press the power button, it takes a while for it to turn on and it makes like a pling sound? Yeah. Those were the days. We don't do that anymore. Now you just press the power button and it comes up immediately. Technology. All right. And then you can put like magnets on the monitor, on the screen, and it changes the color. That's cool too. Yeah. Probably not good for the monitor. Okay, anyways. So it looks like the Chenjin sect is being attacked. Behind him rose a chorus of shouts as the Taoists swarmed after him. Then it dawned on him. They must have mistaken me for one of the attackers. Now that the temple is under threat, they'll want to fight me to the death. He paid them no heed and sped up the mountain. His lightness skill unfolded, and in moments he had vaulted several dozen zhang away. Before a cup of tea could cool, he was standing before Chongyang Palace. Flames roared and thick smoke billowed. The fire was fierce, yet strangely enough, though the palace had countless Taoists, not one had come out to fight the blaze. Guojing's heart sank. Scattered across the mountainside stood over a dozen temple buildings, and though the back halls burned fiercely, the main courtyard had not yet been reached. From there came the sounds of shouting, curses, and clashing weapons. He pushed off with his feet and vaulted onto a high wall, where he saw a vast square below, black with people locked in furious combat. It was a huge battle. Well, we just solved the case of the broken monitor. Yes, that's what I do. I just take magnets and just stick them onto my monitors just to see what happens. Wait, what? I don't think it... Does that happen with LCD monitors? I don't think so, right? Gonna have to try. Oh, the mouse with the orb inside? Yeah, with the ball inside. You gotta clean it periodically. When laser mice came out, that was peak technology right there. No longer had to clean the balls, the mouse balls. Alright, stop. Guojing's heart sank. Scattered across the mountainside stood over a dozen temple buildings, and though the back halls burned fiercely, the main courtyard had not yet been... Sorry. Steadying his gaze, he saw 49 Taoists in yellow robes forming 7 Beidou, Northern Dipper formations, resisting an onslaught from more than 100 enemies. These attackers varied in height and build, some tall, some short, fat, or lean, and from a single glance he could tell they were of many martial schools, dressed and armed in different fashions. Some wielded weapons, others fought barehanded, striking from all directions at the 7 defensive arrays. The attackers' martial arts were formidable, and their numbers overwhelming. The Chenjin Taoists were clearly hard-pressed. Yet, because their opponents fought separately, while the Beidou formations supported one another, the defenders still managed to hold their ground. You thought wireless mouse and keyboards were so cool? They're hella cool. The first time you saw a laptop, you freaked out? No, just calm down there, Sal. Man, the first laptops were this thick! They were gigantic. They seemed to be peak technology. Nowadays, a freaking iMac. Wait, are they called iMacs? What are the MacBook? The MacBook Pros. They're like this. They're so cool. If only they were not Macs. If only they sold PC laptops like that. Alright, stop. Guojing was about to call out when he heard fierce winds whipping from inside the main hall. More combatants were fighting within, their skill, from the sound of it, far greater than those outside. He leapt from the wall, twisting his body sideways, darting east and west. In an instant, he had slipped through the gaps between 3 of the Beidou formations. Alarmed, the Taoists shouted and raised their swords in warning, but beset by attackers, they could not spare anyone to pursue him. From the main hall had originally been bright with more than 10 great candles, but now the firelight from the rear courtyard poured in, dulling their glow. Inside were 7 meditation mats in a row, upon which 7 Taoists sat cross-legged. Our 7 elders. Their palms Their left palms linked together, their right palms thrust outward to fend off a dozen enemies surrounding them. Ignoring the attackers, Guo first looked at the 7 Taoists. Among them, 3 were elderly and 4 were young. The elders were Ma Yu, Qiu Chuqi, and Wang Chuyi. Of the younger ones, he recognized only Yin Jiping. The 7 were seated according to the positions of Tianshu through Yao Guang, forming the Northern Dipper array, sitting motionless in defense. Before them, a Taoist lay prone on the ground, life or death uncertain, his hair white as frost, his face unseen. Oh no. Seeing Ma Yu and the others in peril, Guo blood surged hot. Without caring who their foes were, he shouted like spring thunder, "You bold scoundrels! How dare you run wild in Chongyang Palace?" As he spoke, his hands shot out, seizing 2 of the enemy by the back. He was about to hurl them aside when he found both men solid as stakes, their feet rooted firm, unmoving even under his strength. Lorelei, all right. Nice of you to join. Nice of you to say goodnight. Have a good sleep. So many powerful fighters here. No wonder the Chenchin sect is suffering today, he thought. Suddenly, he released his grip and swept his leg across. The 2 men, exerting their full weight to resist his hands, were caught off guard by the sudden change. At the sweep, both shot into the air and crashed out through the hall's doorway. The enemies started as Guo appeared, but confident in their numbers, they paid him little heed. 2 rushed at him, shouting, "Who are you?" Guo ignored them, his palms whipping out with 2 whistling strikes. Before the men could come within reach, the force of his palms knocked them backward. They staggered twice, then slammed against the wall, spitting blood. The rest saw how he had felled 4 men in as many moves, and all stepped back in shock. None dared advance again. Ma Yu, Qiu Chuqi, and Wang Chuyi recognized him, and their hearts leapt with joy. With this man here, they thought, our sect is saved. Guo paid the enemies no attention at all. Dropping to his knees before Ma Yu and the others, he kowtowed and said, "Is this time for kowtowing, Guo? Your disciple Guo pays his respects." Ma Yu, Qiu Chuqi, and Wang Chuyi smiled faintly and raised their hands in return salute. Yin Jiping suddenly cried out, "Brother Guo, take care!" Guo heard the rush of wind behind his head and knew someone was launching a sneak attack. Without rising, he braced his elbows on the ground, his body springing upward. As he dropped, both knees struck out, landing squarely on the backs of his 2 assailants. The blows hit the soul gate acupoints directly. Both men collapsed, limp as rags. Guo remained kneeling. Only now there were 2 extra flesh cushions beneath his knees. Ma Yu gave a slight smile. "Jinger, rise. It's been over 10 years. Your skill has advanced greatly." Guo got to his feet and said, "How shall we deal with these people? I await your direction, Taoist master." Before Ma Yu could answer, laughter suddenly rang out behind them. 2 simultaneous ha-has, eerie and strange. Guo turned at once. He saw 2 men standing there. One wore a red robe and a golden crown, thin-faced and hollow-cheeked, a middle-aged Tibetan monk. The other was dressed in a pale yellow brocade robe, holding a folding fan, his manner that of an arrogant young noble, around 30 or so, with a look of cold pride etched on his face. Guo noted their calm bearing, wholly unlike the other brawling opponents, and dared not be discourteous. He clasped his fists and said, "And who might you 2 be? What business brings you here?" The young noble replied, And who are you? What business brings you here? His accent was strange, clearly not from the Central Plains. Guojing said, I am a disciple of these Taoist masters. The young man gave a cold laugh. Ha 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 ha. I didn't expect the Chenjin sect to have anyone of your caliber. He was a few years younger than Guo Jing, yet his manner was haughty and condescending. Guo Jing had meant to explain that he was not truly of the Chenjin sect, but hearing such insolent words, a twinge of irritation stirred in him. Not one for argument, he simply said, What enmity do you bear toward the Chenjin sect? Why bring so many men to burn their temple? The young man sneered. You're a junior of the Chenjin sect. This is no matter for you to speak on. Guo Jing said, To wreak such havoc? Surely that is too wanton, too overbearing. By now the flames had driven close. Before long they would reach the main hall of Chongyang Palace. The young noble flicked his fan open and shut, stepped forward, and said with a mocking smile, All these friends came with me. If you can withstand 30 of my moves, I'll spare these old ox-nosed priests. How about that? Oh, this guy's very arrogant, isn't he? Come on, Guojing. Just kick his ass. Seeing the peril of the moment, Guojing wasted no breath. His right hand shot out and seized the folding fan, giving a sharp pull to draw the man toward him. If the man didn't release it, he'd be yanked bodily forward. Under that pull, the young noble's body wavered several times, yet he held fast to the fan. Guo Jing was slightly surprised. He's young, yet he can resist my pull. His inner energy must be akin to that of the Tibetan master Lingqi Shengren, though far more nimble and refined. He must belong to a Tibetan lineage. And that fan, its ribs are forged of steel, so it's a weapon. Oh, he's like Kitana from Mortal Kombat. You found your Blockbuster card last week? What the? Blockbuster. He immediately tightened his grip and snapped. Let go! A flush of violet surged briefly across the young man's face, then faded at once. Guo Jing knew he was channeling his inner power to resist. If Guo Jing increased his strength now, the man's organs would suffer grave damage once that purple hue returned thrice. But thinking, to reach such skill is not easy. I needn't harm him heavily. No, just harm him. Guo Jing smiled faintly and suddenly opened his hand. The fan rested flat upon his palm. The young noble's pulling force had yet to subside, but Guo Jing's palm energy traveled through the fan into his hand, neutralizing it completely. The man exerted every ounce of his might, yet not a trace of strength reached the fan's handle. He couldn't move it even an inch. Understanding now that his opponent's martial arts far surpassed his own. Yeah, can you beat 30 of my moves? The nobleman let go to save face and leapt back, his face flushed, crimson. May I ask your honorable name, sir? He said, his tone now much more respectful. Guo Jing said, My humble name is of no importance. Real man Ma, real man Chu, and real man Wang. What is a real man? Like gentlemen? These are my respected teachers. The fan, they're really called ribs. I guess you can call them ribs. You want me to look up metal fan ribs? Oh, these are cool. Look. Oh, wait. Uh, yep. Yep. This one's cool. Ooh. Oh. What? Stop. Can I get a big picture, please? Oh, I cannot. Whoa. That's too much. That's too fancy. What do Kitana's fan weapon? Oh, that's hers? Oh, okay. It's too fancy. This is pretty cool. No. I just want a nice straight blade. There are ones where the ribs can be pushed out. Oh, I think this is what hers looks like. Anyways. The young noble looked half convinced, half doubtful. I fought these old Chenjin Taoists for half a day, he thought. Only their Tiangang Beidou formation was troublesome. In single combat, none were my match. Yet their disciple is this formidable? Impossible. He studied Guojing again, an honest, plain face, simple, coarse clothing, utterly ordinary, no different from a peasant. But his skill was fathomless. The young man said, Your martial arts are astounding. I'm deeply impressed. 10 years from now, I'll return to test myself again. I have worldly matters that here yet unfinished, so I'll take my leave for today. He clasped his hands respectfully. Guo Jing returned the gesture. Then, 10 years hence, I will wait you here, he said. The young noble turned to leave. At the doorway, he added, As for today's enmity with the Chenjin sect, I admit defeat. I only ask that your sect mind its own affairs and not interfere with my private concerns. According to the customs of the martial world, if a person acknowledged a defeat and set a date for rematch, neither side was to raise a hand before that time, even if they crossed paths. Guojing, hearing this, nodded at once. Naturally, he said. Wait, so if I set a date for like 50 years in the future, within those 50 years, they can't touch me? I'm gonna set 50-year dates with every single person. All of my enemies. The young man smiled faintly, spoke several phrases in Tibetan to the red-robed monk beside him, and was about to step out when Chu Chu Chi suddenly gathered his breath and called out, No need to wait 10 years. Chu Chu Chi will come to find you first. His shout shook the rafters. His inner power was clearly immense. The young noble's ears rang with the force of it, and his heart gave a start. This old Taoist's internal energy is formidable. They must not have fought with full strength just now, he thought. Not daring to linger, he strode quickly from the hall. The red-robed monk shot Guojing a murderous glare before leaving with the rest of his followers. Guojing saw that many among the retreating group were of striking and foreign appearance. High noses, curly hair, deep-set eyes, clearly not from the Central Plains. And his suspicions deepened. From outside came the fading clash of steel and voices. The battle on the square was dying down. The enemies were withdrawing. All you need is for Guojing to step in, and everyone withdraws. Ma Yu and the other 6 Taoists rose to their feet. The old Taoist, prone on the ground, however, remained motionless. Guojing hurried forward and saw that it was Guangningji Hao Da Tong. Only then did he realize that, despite the danger of the fire, the 7 Taoists had remained seated and unmoving to protect their injured brother. Hao Da Tong's face was ashen gold, his breath faint, his eyes tightly shut. He was gravely wounded. Guojing unfastened his robe, and what he saw gave him a start. On the man's chest was the imprint of a spread hand, 5 deep purple marks sunken into the flesh. So the enemy truly practices Tibetan martial arts. This is the great handprint technique. There's no poison on that palm, but the power behind it surpasses even that of Lingji Shangren. He felt Hao Da Tong's pulse, thankfully still strong and steady. Knowing the Taoist's pure inner cultivation and decades of training, Guojing judged that his life was not in danger. By now, the flames from the rear courtyard were surging closer. Chu Chi lifted Hao Da Tong in his arms and said, "Let's go." Guojing asked, "Where is the child I brought? Who's looking after him? He mustn't be caught by the fire." The Taoists, having focused wholly on fending off the enemy, were unaware of this. They looked at one another and asked, "What child? Where is he?" Before Guojing could answer, a small shadow flashed in the firelight, and a little figure dropped from a beam above, laughing. "I'm here! Ha 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 ha!" It was Yang Guo. Where did he go? Guojing, overjoyed, quickly asked, "Why were you hiding up there on the beam?" Yang Guo grinned. "You were busy with those 7 stinky Taoists." "Watch your tongue," Guojing barked. "Come and pay respects to your grandmasters at once." Yang Guo stuck out his tongue, but at once knelt and kowtowed to Ma Yu, Chu Chi, and Wang Chuyi. When he came to Yin Jiping, seeing he was young, he turned to Guojing and said, "This one can't be a grandmaster, can he? I don't think I need to bow to him." Guojing said, "This is your uncle Master Yin. Bow quickly." Reluctant, Yang Guo bowed as told. Then, when he stood up, he made no move to salute the other 3 middle-aged Taoists. Guojing rebuked. "Guo why so rude?" Yang Guo laughed. "If I finish my bows, it'll be too late. You'll blame me then." "Too late? What for?" "There's a Taoist tied up in that room over there," Yang Guo said. "If we don't rescue him soon, he'll be burned to death." Wow, he really buried the lead there. Guojing cried out, "Which room? Quickly!" Yang Guo pointed eastward. "I think over there. Don't know who tied him up, though." And he snickered as he spoke. Yin Jiping shot Yang Guo a sharp glance, then hurried toward the eastern wing. He kicked open the room door, but found no one inside, so he rushed to the quiet chamber further east, where the 3rd-generation disciples practice internal energy. Pushing the door aside, he met a rush of thick smoke and saw a Taoist bound to a bedpost, muffled cries rising from his throat, perilously close to death. Yin Jiping drew his sword at once and slashed through the ropes, dragging the man to safety. By this time, Ma Yu, Chu Chi, Wang Chuyi, Guojing, and Yang Guo had all exited the main hall and stood on the mountainside, watching the blaze. The rear courtyard was a sea of flame. Tongues of fire leapt high, lighting the heavens crimson. The only water source was a small spring, enough for daily use, but useless for fighting such a fire. They could only watch helplessly as the great rear complex of Chongyang Palace, once grand and stately, gradually sagged and collapsed into ashes. The Chenjin disciples worked together to cut off the fire's path. Only thus were the other halls spared. Ma Yu remained serene, his heart free of attachment, yet Chu Chu Chi, fiery tempered as ever, more so with age, ground his teeth and cursed aloud as he stared at the raging flames. Guo Jing was about to ask who their attackers were and why they had come with such malice when Yin Jiping emerged from the smoke, supporting under the arm a plump Taoist. The man was coughing from the smoke, tears streaming from his eyes. The moment he saw Yang Guo, his rage flared. He leapt at the boy. Yang Guo only giggled and hid behind Guo Jing's back. The Taoist, not knowing who Guo Jing was, thrust out a palm at his chest to push him aside and seize Yang Guo. But his hand struck as though against a stone wall. Guo Jing didn't move an inch. Startled, the Taoist pointed at Yang Guo and roared, "You little bastard! You almost got me killed!" Wang Chuyi barked, "Qing Guang, what nonsense are you spouting?" The Taoist, Lu Qingdu, Wang Chuyi's grand disciple, had only just escaped death. Still shaken, he had flown into a rage at the sight of Yang Guo, forgetting altogether that his sect elder, grandmaster, and even Patriarch Chu were standing right beside him. At Wang Chuyi's rebuke, cold sweat broke across his back. Hanging his head, hands lowered, he said, "Disciple deserves punishment." Wang Chuyi snapped, "What exactly happened?" Lu Qingdu stammered, "Oh, all disciples' fault. Please, Patriarch, give your judgment." Wang Chuyi frowned. "Who said you had any merit? I asked what happened." Yes, Lu Qingdu said quickly. "Disciple was under orders from Uncle Master Zhao Jing to guard the rear courtyard. Later, Uncle Zhao brought this little... He almost said little bastard, but caught himself just in time before his grandmaster. "This boy, saying he was captured from our sect's mortal enemy, brought up the mountain, and that I must watch him carefully, not letting him escape. So I took him to the eastern chamber. Not long after sitting down, the little boy used a trick. He said he needed to relieve himself and asked me to loosen the rope on his hands. I thought, he's just a small child. He can't get very far. So I untied him. But scarcely had he sat on the chamber pot when, instead of doing his business, he jumped up, grabbed the pot, and dumped the filth and urine all over me." Aha. Yang Guo will have to start by helping build the palace now? Yeah? Yeah, it doesn't look like Yang Guo would be very happy studying under these Taoists. At this point, Yang Guo gave a snicker. Lu Qingdu flushed with anger. You little brat! What are you laughing at?" Yang Guo lifted his chin, eyes to the sky, and said with a laugh, "I can laugh what I want if I want. What business is it of yours?" Lu Qingdu was ready to quarrel, but Wang Chuyi cut him short. "Enough bickering with a child. Go on." Yes, Patriarch, you cannot imagine how cunning this boy is." Lu Qingdu went on. "The filth splashed all over me, and I leapt aside in panic. He just laughed and said, 'Ah, Taoist master, now your clothes are dirty.'" Hearing him imitate the child in a squeaky voice, toneless and absurd, everyone struggled to suppress their laughter. Wang Chuyi's brows drew together. He cursed inwardly at his disciple's stupidity for making a fool of himself before outsiders. Got bested by a child? True. You think Zhou Botong will like Yang Guo? He'll love Yang Guo. Lu Qingdu continued. "Naturally, I was furious and rushed forward to strike him, but that brat lifted the slop bucket and flung it straight at me. I shouted, 'You little wretch, what do you think you're doing?' and quickly used the move Valiant Retreat against the torrent to dodge aside. My foot, however, stepped right into the filth, and I slipped twice, though thankfully I didn't fall. But that little rascal took advantage of my confusion, drew the sword from my waist, and pressed the tip against my chest, saying if I so much as moved, he'd drive it straight in. I thought, a gentleman does not suffer a loss before him, and could only stay still. The child held the sword in his left hand, and used a rope with his right to tie me to a pillar, then tore off a piece of my robe and stuffed it into my mouth. Later, when the temple caught fire, I could neither move nor call for help. Had Uncle Yin not saved me, wouldn't that little brat have burned me alive? As he spoke, he glared fiercely at young Guo, his face livid with rage. When the others finished listening, they turned to look from Lu Qingdu to Yang Guo. One was small and thin, the other tall and stout. It was such a contrast that they all burst out laughing. Lu Qingdu, bewildered by their laughter, scratched his head and fidgeted awkwardly. Ma Yu smiled and said, Jinger, this must be your son. Seems he's inherited all his mother's clever tricks. No wonder he's so crafty. Guo Jing replied, No, he is the posthumous. He is the posthumous son of my sworn brother, Yang Kang. Don't think they'll like that. At the mention of Yang Kang's name, Qiu Chuchi's heart gave a jolt. He studied Yang Guo carefully, and indeed could see faint traces of Yang Kang's features between the boy's brows. Yang Kang had been his only disciple before entering monastic life, though that disciple had proved unworthy, coveting wealth, recognizing a traitor as his father. Qiu Chuchi could never think of him without guilt, blaming his own poor teaching for sending the boy astray. Now, hearing that Yang Kang had left a son, grief and joy welled in his heart together, and he quickly began asking questions in detail. Okay, he wants to teach him. Guo Jing briefly recounted Yang Guo's life, explaining that he had brought the boy to be accepted as a disciple of the Chenjun sect. Qiu Chuchi said, Jinger, your martial arts long ago surpassed ours. Why not teach him yourself? Guo Jing replied, That matter I shall explain in due time, but today, on coming up the mountain, I offended many Taoist brothers. I feel greatly uneasy and wish to offer my apologies to all, hoping you will forgive my offense. He then explained how the Chenjin disciples had mistaken him for an enemy and attacked. Ma Yu said, Were it not for your timely aid, the Chenjin sect would surely have suffered a crushing defeat today. We're all our own people. There's no need to mention apologies or thanks. Qiu Chuchi's brows had already drawn sharply upward. As soon as the headmaster finished speaking, he said heatedly, Teaching, presiding over the outer formation, making no distinction between friend and foe, utterly useless. I had wondered why such a powerful formation had been set at the outer gate, yet the enemy had broken through so quickly, catching us off guard. So it was because he deployed the Northern Dipper formation to block your way. His beard bristled as he spoke, his anger plainly rising. I wish I could grow a beard so I can bristle it. At once he called two disciples forward to question how they had mistaken Guo Jing for an enemy. The two disciples looked terrified. The elder one said, Disciples Feng and Wei, guarding below the mountain, sent word up, saying that this Master Guo had struck the stone steel at Puguang Temple, so we assumed he must be with the enemy. Only then did Guo Jing understand, realizing the entire misunderstanding had begun there. He said, Then the brothers are not to blame. Down at Puguang Temple, I happened to strike the steel on which one of the Taoist elders had inscribed a poem that must have caused your misunderstanding. Qiu Chuchi said, So that's how it was. What a coincidence indeed. We had already learned in advance that the heretics attacking Chongyang Palace today would use the act of striking a stone stele as their signal. Guojing asked, "Who are these people, so bold as to dare such an attack?" Chu Chu Chi sighed. "Hey, that's a long story. Jing'er, come with me. I'll show you something." Nodding slightly to Ma Yu and Wang Chuyi, he turned and headed toward the back of the mountain. Guo Jing said to Yang Guo, "Guo, stay here and don't run off." Then he followed close behind Chu Chu Chi. He saw that, though elder in years, Chu Chu Chi's steps were still brisk and light, his spirit undimmed. The two soon reached the mountain's peak. Chu Chu Chi walked behind a large rock and said, "There are words carved here." By now the sky was dim and the back of the rock was shrouded in darkness. Guo Jing reached out to feel it and indeed found carvings. He traced the characters one by one and discovered they formed a poem, which read, "Chu Feng's will was to destroy Qin, once offering his shoes beneath the bridge. He aided Han in founding its high cause, standing tall as a pillar of heaven. Wished to roam with Qi Song once his work was done, brushed off his robe and left. To such a man and his strange book, heaven does not lightly bestow. Chongyang arose, founding Chengzhen, his gaze lofty, his stride unrestrained. A hero proud and unyielding, who seized his moment and claimed his realm. Knowing at last his past deeds were vain, he gathered his spirit within the tomb of life and death. Men say, when first he entered the way, two immortals met at this place. Now below Mount Zhongnan, halls and towers float amid the mist and clouds." As Guojing traced the stone, following each carved stroke with his finger, he suddenly realized that the lines perfectly matched the movements of a fingertip, as though someone had written it by hand upon the rock itself. He blurted out, "It was written with a finger." Oh, someone's powerful. Chu Chu Chi said, "Shocking as it sounds, that is indeed the case. It was written with the finger." Guo Jing exclaimed, astonished. "Can it be that there truly are immortals in this world?" Chu Chu Chi said, "This poem was written by two people, both remarkable figures in the martial world. The one who wrote the first 8 lines was an extraordinary person, gifted in both letters and arms, transcending the common lot of men. Though not an immortal, such a genius appears only once in 100 years. Guo Jing was full of admiration. Who was this senior? Could it be the Taoist elder introduced me, so that I may pay him homage? Chu Chu Ji said, "I have never met him myself. Sit, and I will tell you how this came about." Okay. Gonna hear a little story. Time for a break. I will be right back. 5 minutes. And we're back. Sal, nearly done with this paper. Oh, congrats. But how do you do that while listening to this? What? All right. Guo Jing sat upon the rock, watching the flames far down the mountainside gradually fade. Suddenly, he said, "What a pity Rong-er didn't come with me. If she were here to hear Taoist Chu to tell these wondrous tales, wouldn't that be fine?" Chu Chu Chi said, "Do you understand the meaning of the poem?" Though Guo Jing was now middle-aged, Chu-Chu-Ji spoke to him in the same tone as when he was a youth, and Guo-Jing too found that natural. He said, "The first 8 lines speak of Zhang Liang. Rong-er has told me the story, how he picked up an elder's shoe under a bridge, whereupon the old man promised to teach him, transmitting to him a mysterious book. Later, Zhang Liang assisted Emperor Gaozhu of Han in establishing his dynasty, becoming one of the 3 heroes of Han. When his work was done, he vanished from the world to wander among the immortals. But the latter lines that speak of Patriarch Chongyang, I do not fully grasp those." Chu-Chu-Chi asked, "Do you know who Patriarch Chongyang was?" Guo-Jing was startled. "He was your master, the founder of the Chenjin sect. At the sword meet on Mount Hua, his skill was supreme under heaven." Chu-Chu-Chi said, "That's right. And before he became a Taoist?" Guo-Jing shook his head. "I do not know." Chu-Chu-Chi said, "A hero proud and unyielding, who seized his moment and claimed his realm. My master was not born a Taoist. In his youth, he first studied the classics, then devoted himself to martial arts, roaming the land as a valiant hero. When the Jin invaders ravaged our fields and slaughtered our people, he raised a righteous banner and fought them fiercely, capturing towns and territories, carving out a glorious cause in the Central Plains. But as the Jin armies grew ever stronger, my master was defeated again and again, his followers nearly all slain. In despair, he renounced the world and took holy orders. At that time, he called himself the Living Dead Man, dwelling in an ancient tomb on his mountain for several years, refusing to step beyond its gate. He meant that though alive, he regarded himself as dead, unwilling to share the same sky as the Jin foes, whom he hated with undying rage. That's what not living together under the same heaven truly meant. So that's how it was. Years passed. Old comrades and friends came one after another, urging him to leave the tomb and again take up arms. Yet his spirit was broken, and shame prevented him from facing the martial world. He always refused. Then, 8 years later, one of his lifelong rivals came to the tomb and hurled insults outside its gate, provoking him for 7 days and 7 nights. At last, my master could endure no more and came forth to fight him. But the man only laughed and said, "Since you've come out, you needn't go back." My master was startled and instantly understood. His old enemy had meant well, using this ruse to stir him back to life, unwilling to see such skill wasted in a grave. So the 2 rivals turned friends, joined hands, and roamed the realm together once more. Guo-Jing, moved by the valor of that bygone generation, sighed with longing and asked, "Hey, who was that elder? Surely not one of the 4 great masters, the Eastern Heretic, Western Venom, Southern Emperor, or Northern Beggar?" Chu-Chu-Chi said, "No. Speaking of martial arts, this person stood above even the 4 great masters, but because she was a woman, never one to parade herself before the world, few knew her name, and her fame was thus all but silent." "Ah, so it was a woman," Chu-Chu-Chi sighed. "Hey, this senior harbored deep affection for my late master. She wished to give herself to him, to become husband and wife. For years the 2 quarreled and fought, yet, in truth, it was because she sought closeness to him. Only her pride was lofty. She would never be the first to reveal her heart. My master, in time, understood her feelings, but the shame of his country's ruin was ever on his mind. He would often say, 'How can I build a home before the northern foe is destroyed?' So, toward her deep and genuine affection, he feigned foolishness, pretending not to know. That senior lady thought he looked down on her, and nursed boundless grievance. The two, once enemies turned friends, later became foes again for love's sake. They agreed to meet here on Zhongnan Mountain to settle the matter by combat. I see. She was a tsundere? Yep. Guo Jing said, "That should not have been necessary." Chu Chuji nodded. "Indeed. My master knew her intentions were pure, and endured her provocations all the way. But the lady's nature was eccentric. She said, 'The more you yield, the more you despise me.' My master, left with no choice, finally fought her. The two battled here for thousands of exchanges. My master withheld his full strength, so the match remained undecided. The lady grew angry and cried, 'You're not truly fighting me. What do you take me for?' My master said, 'If a contest of arms cannot decide victory, then let us compete in art instead.' The lady answered, 'Very well. If I lose, I'll never see your face again, so that your ears and eyes may find peace.' My master asked, 'And if you win, what then?' She blushed, speechless, for a moment, then bit her lip and said, 'Then give me your living dead tomb to dwell in.' These words, in truth, carried deeper meaning. She meant that if she won, she would live there with him, together in life. My master was troubled. He knew his skill to be a notch above her, and to avoid lifelong entanglement, he resolved to win and end the matter. So he asked how they were to compete. She said, 'We're both weary today. Let's decide it tomorrow night.' The next evening they met here again. The lady said, 'Before we begin, we must first set down the rules.' My master asked, 'What new rules?' She said, 'If you win, I'll take my own life right here, and you'll never have to see me again. If I win, either you yield your living dead tomb to me and obey my every word for life, never defying me in anything, or else you must take holy orders, whether Buddhist monk or Taoist priest, it matters not. Whichever you choose, you must build a temple or monastery on this mountain and remain here with me for 10 years. My master understood her meaning perfectly. To obey me for life surely meant she wished to marry me. If not, then I must become a monk or Taoist, which would also prevent me from marrying another. How could I bear to win and force her to kill herself? Yet accompanying her here for 10 years would be hard indeed. He hesitated for long. In truth, that lady was exceptional in both talent and beauty. Her affection was deep, and my master was not untouched by it. But somehow, when it came to marriage, theirs was a bond fate had not permitted. After pondering a long while, he made up his mind. Knowing her to be one who always kept her word, she would surely kill herself if she lost. So he resolved to yield. Whatever the contest, he would lose it to her, and said, 'Very well, as you say.' The lady smiled. 'Our literary contest is simple. Each of us will engrave a few words on this stone with a fingertip. Whoever writes better shall win.' My master shook his head. 'I'm no immortal. How could one carve into stone with a finger?' She said, 'If I can, will you admit defeat?' My master, caught between advance and retreat, thought such a thing impossible. It offered him an honorary way out, neither victory nor defeat, letting the contest end there. So he said, 'If you have such ability, I'll naturally concede, but if you cannot, then neither of us wins or loses, and there's no need to compete further.' The woman gave a sorrowful smile and said, 'Very well then, you've decided to become a Taoist.' With that, she placed her left hand upon the stone, feeling it gently for a time. After pondering a while, she said, 'What words shall I inscribe? Since the first great hero to renounce the world was Zhang Jifeng, who rose against the tyrant Qin, seeking neither fame nor profit, he shall be your forebear in this matter. She then extended her right forefinger and began writing upon the rock. As my master watched her fingertip move, flecks of stone dust fell away, forming characters one by one. It was truly engraving by finger. The very words she wrote were the first 8 lines of the poem on this stone. My master, filled with admiration, could say nothing. That very night he vacated the living dead tomb and allowed her to dwell there. The next day he took the Taoist vows and built a small temple near the tomb, that what would later become known as Chongyang Palace. No, he'd rather be a priest than marry her. Guo Jing was amazed. He reached out again to trace the stone, and indeed the markings were not made by chisel nor blade. It was truly done by a finger. He said, "That senior's finger strength was astonishing beyond belief." Is that why she liked him? Wait. Wait, this hurt, never mind. But then he can do it too, right? Chu Chu Chi threw back his head and laughed. "Ha ha ha ha. Jinger, this matter deceived my master, deceived me, and deceived you as well. But if your wife had been here, it surely couldn't have fooled her eyes." Guo Jing's eyes widened. "You mean there was trickery involved?" Chu Chu Chi said. "Do I even need to say it? Think, who in this world possesses the greatest finger strength?" Guo Jing said, "That would be Reverend Yi Deng's Yi Yang finger." Chu Chu Chi nodded. "Exactly. Even with Reverend Yi Deng's divine mastery, he could perhaps mark wood, but to carve words upon stone, impossible, let alone anyone else. When my master became a Taoist, he pondered this mystery long and hard, never finding an answer. Later, your father-in-law, Elder Huang Yaoxi, of Peach Blossom Island, came to visit Zhongnan. Knowing him to be a man of keen intellect, my master hinted at the matter and sought his opinion. Island Master Huang thought in silence for a long while, then laughed and said, "Ah, that trick I can manage as well, though the technique's not yet ready. Give me a month and I'll pay you another visit." Then, laughing loudly, he went down the mountain. A month later he returned, and the two of them came here to view the stone together. The lady's poem ended at "The divine man and the strange book. Heaven does not lightly grant such gifts," implying that my master should follow Zhang Liang's example and withdraw from the world. Huang Yaoxi caressed the stone with his left hand for a long time, then suddenly extended his right and wrote from "Chongyang rose and founded Tianjin, through to temples and towers float amid mist and cloud, all words of praise for my master." My master saw the stone sink under his touch, indistinguishable from what had been before, and was even more astonished. "Huang Yaoxi's skill is clearly beneath mine. How can he possess such uncanny finger power?" he wondered. Perplexed, he suddenly poked his own finger into the rock, and, astonishingly, it sank in, piercing a hole right here. You never tried that before? As he spoke, Chu Chu Chi guided Guo Jing's hand to the side of the rock. Guo Jing felt the small hole, inserted his finger, and found it perfectly round and uniform. Thinking, could this rock be unusually soft? He gathered his internal energy and pressed hard, but the stone didn't yield in the slightest. Only his fingertip began to ache faintly. Chu Chu Chi laughed heartily. "Ha ha 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 ha! You still can't fathom the trick, can you? Before the lady wrote with her right finger, she first rubbed the surface of the stone with her left hand. Hidden in her palm was a lump of stone-melting elixir. It softened the rock, and for the space of a burning incense stick, the surface remained pliant. What is a stone-melting elixir? What? How is anyone supposed to guess that exists? Huang Yaoshi saw through the ruse. He went down the mountain to gather herbs and prepare the same elixir, then returned to imitate her trick precisely. Guojing was silent for a long time, thinking. My father-in-law's wit is by no means beneath that of Lady Senior, but where might he be now? A wave of longing stirred in his heart. Unaware of Guojing's thoughts, Chu went on. When my master first donned the Taoist robe, resentment still filled his heart. But as he delved into the Taoist scriptures, he gradually attained enlightenment, perceiving that all things arise by fate. He then comprehended the essence of purity and emptiness, devoted himself to cultivation, and founded our sect in earnest. Looking back to the source, had that lady senior not spurred him so, there would be no Chenjin sect in this world. I, Chu would not be who I am today, and you, Guojing, who knows where you would be. It only melts stones? That's a pretty, it's pretty useful, no? What would you use it for? The stone melting elixir? For mining, maybe? Guojing nodded in agreement and asked, But may I know the name of this lady senior? Does she still live in this world? Chu sighed. Hey, that lady roamed the martial realm freely in her day, yet kept her tracks secret. Very few ever beheld her true face. Apart from my late master, I fear no one under heaven knew her real name, and he never spoke of it. She passed away long before the first sword meet on Mount Hua. Otherwise, with her skill and temperament, how could she possibly have failed to take part? Maybe she was the master of Li Mo Cho? The lady from the beginning? Guojing nodded. Indeed, did she leave any heirs? Chu sighed again. Hey. There lies the source of all of today's troubles. Was that Lady Long? Miss Long? That lady senior never took disciples, only had a young maid who followed her. The maid cared nothing for the ways of the martial world, so naturally none in the Jianghu knew of her. Yet that maid herself took on 2 disciples. Her elder disciple bore the surname Li. What? You must have heard of her. She's known in the martial world as the Scarlet Serpent Immortal, Li Mo Cho. Guojing gasped. Ah! So that murderous Li Mo Cho, her lineage comes from there. Chu asked, You've met her before? Guojing said, A few months ago. By chance I encountered her on my travels. Truly, her martial arts are formidable. Chu asked, You fought and wounded her? Guojing shook his head. No, in truth, I did not fight her at all. Only witnessed her slay several women in cold blood. Her cruelty surpassed even that of Copper Corpse Mei Chao Feng in her days. Chu said, It's just as well you didn't hurt her. Otherwise, you'd have much trouble on your hands. Her junior apprentice sister's surname is Long. Guojing stiffened. That woman surnamed Long? Chu expression changed slightly. What, you've met her too? Did something happen? Guojing replied, I haven't met her, but on my way up the mountain today, the Taoist brothers kept cursing me as a demonic rogue, saying I'd come for the woman surnamed Long. I couldn't make sense of it at all. Chu Chuchi laughed, but then sighed. Ha 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 ha. Hey, so the misfortune that befell Chongyang Palace today was fated. Were it not for this misunderstanding, the Northern Dipper Formation could easily have held off the invading heretics. You would have arrived on the mountain far sooner, and Brother Hao would not have been so grievously hurt. Seeing Guojing's puzzled face, he went on. Today happens to be the 18th birthday of that girl surnamed Long. Wait, I know who that is. From the name. Oh, I know. Guojing repeated instinctively. Yes, her 18th birthday. Yet still could not fathom how a young girl's coming of age could bring such disaster. Chu Chuchi said, As for her actual name, no outsider has ever known it. Those heretic sects call her Little Dragon Girl, so that name has stood, and we call her the same. Long means dragon. That's a little bit of Chinese that I know. 18 years ago, one night, outside Chongyang Palace, the sound of a baby crying suddenly rang out. When our disciples went to look, they found an infant wrapped in a bundle and laid upon the ground. Do we have a birthday sound effect? There you go. Such a child could hardly be raised within a monastery. Yet, as disciples of the Tao, compassion is our root. We could not simply abandon her. At that time, my senior brother, the headmaster, and I were both away from the mountain, and the others did not know how to act. Just then, a middle-aged woman came from behind the mountain and said, This poor child, let me take her and raise her. The disciples were glad to be relieved of the burden and handed the infant over. When Brother Ma and I returned to the palace, they told us of it and described the woman's appearance. We realized at once she was the maid who resided within the living dead tomb. We of the Seven of Chenzhen had seen her a few times before, but never exchanged a single word. Sup, Raina? How's it going? Though our dwellings were near, the entanglements between our elders ran deep, so near as to hear the cocks crow and dogs bark, yet never once did we visit. We quietly let the matter rest, paying it no further mind. Later, that disciple of hers, the scarlet serpent immortal Li Mo Cho, emerged into the martial world. She was ruthless and vicious, with high mastery of martial arts, throwing the Jianghu into turmoil. The Chenzhen sect met several times to discuss restraining her, but for the sake of our neighbor in the tomb, we could not act. We sent her a letter, our tone most courteous, but it vanished as though into the sea, never answered, and she continued to indulge Li Mo Cho utterly, giving her no restraint at all. Several years passed. One day a strip of white mourning cloth appeared fluttering above the thorns outside the tomb. We knew then that the Taoist friend within had passed away. The 6 of us brothers went to the grave to offer our respects. Just after the ceremony ended, a young girl of about 13 or 14 emerged from the brambles. She returned our salutes and thanked us for our condolences, saying, When my master passed away, she instructed me to inform the Reverend Taoist that the evildoer runs rampant, but my master had her own method to restrain her. You need not worry yourselves." After saying this, she turned and went back in. We wanted to question her further, but she had already entered the tomb gate. Our late master had left a strict injunction that no disciple of the Chenjin sect may set one step past that gate. Since she entered, we could only let the matter rest. Still, each of us wondered. Her master was already dead. How could she still subdue that wicked disciple? Seeing how pitiful and lonely the little girl seemed, we sent her food and supplies. Each time, however, the offerings were returned untouched, a servant woman bringing them back with word that they were refused. It appeared she had the same eccentric, aloof nature as her grandmaster and her master. Yet, since she had a servant to care for her, there was no reason for others to interfere. Later, with business taking us to all corners of the land, few of us remained in the monastery, and news of the young miss became exceedingly rare. Somehow, Li Mo-cho suddenly vanished from the martial world, no longer stirring up trouble. We all assumed that the Taoist friend's dying strategy had truly taken effect, and felt much admiration. "Last spring," Chu-Chu-Chi went on, "my junior brother Wang and I went northwest on certain affairs and stayed for a time at the home of a great hero in Ganzhou. There we heard astonishing news. A year hence, heretical and demonic sects from all parts would converge upon Mount Zhongnan with some sinister intent. Zhongnan is the very foundation of the Chenjin sect. If they came up the mountain, naturally their target would be us. How could we not take precautions? Still uncertain of the report, we sent people to investigate in every direction. It turned out not to be false. Yet what they planned upon, Mount Zhongnan, was not aimed at our sect, but against the young woman living in the tomb of the living dead." Guo Jing asked in surprise. "She's just a young girl and never sets foot outside. How could she have made enemies among those heretic outlaws?" Chu-Chu-Ji replied, "The details did not concern us, and ordinarily we might have ignored them. But once that rabble came up the mountain, we could hardly stand aside. So we contrived to learn more, and finally discovered that the whole affair had been stirred up by the elder sister of the girl in the tomb." "Li Mo-cho?" Guo Jing asked. Chu-Chu-Chi nodded. "Precisely. Her master had taught Li Mo-cho for several years, but saw that her nature was unkind. Concluding her training complete, the master ordered her to leave the mountain. While her master lived, though Li Mo-cho was already prone to evil, she still held a measure of restraint. After the master passed away, she used the pretext of offering respects to break into the tomb of the living dead, intending to drive her junior sister out. Knowing she had not yet mastered the supreme skills of her grandmaster and master, she wanted to search the tomb for hidden manuals or secret techniques. But the tomb had been fitted with countless ingenious traps. After exhausting every stratagem, she forced her way past 2 gates, only to find a letter left by her master beside the third. Her master had long foreseen her intrusion and had placed the letter there expressly. In it was written that on a certain date, the day her junior sister turned 18, the position of sect leader would pass to her. The letter also urged her to repent of her misdeeds, or she would never meet a good end. The meaning was plain. If she continued in wickedness, her junior sister, as sect leader, would have the duty to purge the school. Paper done? Congrats, good job. Enraged, Li Mo-cho tried to force her way through the third gate, but fell into a poisonous trap her master had laid beforehand. Had the girl Xiaolongnu, that's little dragon girl, not tended her injuries. Wait, how should we translate this in the future? Should we stick with Xiaolongnu or should we call it little dragon girl? Up to me? Hmm. It's literally the same thing. Yeah, I know, but what sounds better in the translation? All right, I'll think about it. Had the girl Xiaolongnu not tended her injuries and neutralized the poison, she would have died then and there. Realizing the danger, she withdrew. But how could such a person accept defeat? Some versions they call her Miss Dragon or Miss Long. I'm not sure I like that. She broke in several more times afterward, each time suffering heavy losses. On the final attempt, she even fought her junior sister hand to hand. At that time, Xiaolongnu was but 15 or 16, yet her martial prowess already far surpassed her seniors. Were it not for her mercy, taking Li Mocho's life would have been no hard task. Guojing interjected. I fear that rumor in the martial world cannot be entirely trusted. Chu Chuchi asked, Oh, why do you say so? Guojing said, My benefactor, Master Ke the hero, once fought Li Mocho twice. He said her skills are truly formidable. Even brother Wu Santong, a top disciple under Reverend Yi Deng, was defeated by her. If Xiaolongnu is not yet 20, no matter how fine her... What is this? Something about martial arts? It seems unlikely she could have bested Li Mocho. Chu Chi said, That was something my junior brother Wang heard from a friend in the beggar clan. Whether or not Xiaolongnu truly defeated her senior sister Li Mocho, no one else was there at the time. No one knows for certain, it's merely a rumor circulating in the Jianghu. Whatever the truth, Li Mocho took it bitterly to heart, convinced that her master had played favorites and saved the highest arts for her junior sister. So she spread word that on a certain year, month, and day, Xiaolongnu of the Tomb of the Living Dead would hold a martial contest for marriage. When Guojing heard those 4 words, martial contest for marriage, his mind immediately flashed to Yang Kang and Mu Niansu's affair years ago in the capital, and he could not help but let out a soft ah. Chu Chuchi understood his thought, sighed lightly, and continued. She declared that whoever could best Xiaolongnu in combat would not only win her hand, but also receive all the rare treasures and secret manuals hidden in the tomb. Now the demonic rogues of the martial world had never heard of Xiaolongnu before, but Li Mocho made sure the rumor spread far and wide, claiming her junior sister's beauty far surpassed her own. The Scarlet Serpent Fairy herself is said to be stunningly beautiful, her elegance and charm not only rare in the martial world, but even among noble ladies of great families. Few could match her. Guojing thought to himself, That's nothing remarkable. My Rong-er outshines her 100-fold. Chu Chuchi went on, Among the evil factions in the Jianghu, quite a number are infatuated with Li Mocho, yet she shows favor to no one, and any who act even slightly impertinent meet her poison at once. Now that word spreads, she has a younger sister of even greater beauty, openly promising marriage through combat. Who wouldn't wish to try his luck? Guojing suddenly understood. So those men came seeking a bride. No wonder the Taoist brothers in the palace cursed me as a lewd scoundrel. Chu Chu Chi burst into hearty laughter, then added, We also learned that those villains held some concern about the Chenjin sect. If they assembled in full force atop Mount Zhongnan and we interfered, they planned to seize the chance to attack and eradicate us altogether. Once Brother Wang and I heard this, we resolved to confront them head on. We sent out talismanic summons, calling all generations of our sect's Taoist brothers to gather at Chongyang Palace 10 days early. Only senior brother Liu and junior sister Sun, being in Shanxi, couldn't return in time. We spent our days drilling the Beidou formation while sending a message into the tomb warning Xiaolong Nu to be on guard. But the message brought no reply. She ignored it entirely. Well, they spent days drilling the formation and still couldn't beat Gojing. Gojing said, Perhaps she was no longer in the tomb. Chu Chu Chi replied, No. Every day we can see faint cooking smoke rising from within. Look, just over there. He pointed westward. Gojing followed his finger. The western slope lay thick with verdant forests, stretching for miles, yet the tomb's location was impossible to discern. He pictured that 18-year-old girl living year-round inside a cold tomb. If it were Rong he thought, she'd have gone mad with boredom by now. Chu Chu Chi continued, For days we've been preparing to repel intruders. 5 days ago, our scouts returned, reporting that the two most formidable among the horde were a pair of great demons. They planned to first meet at Puguang Monastery at the mountain's foot, giving the signal by striking the stone steel with a palm. You, by chance, struck that steel, revealing immense power. No wonder my useless disciples were so alarmed. Those two great demons are by no means obscure figures. They only recently came to the Central Plains, but already shook the martial world. You've been secluded on Peach Blossom Island, cut off from worldly news, so you wouldn't have heard. One of them is a Mongol prince, said to be a close descendant of the great Khan himself. He is known as Prince Huo Du. Since you've lived long among the Mongols and know their royal lines, can you guess whose son he might be? Guojing murmured several times, Prince Huo Du, recalling the man's handsome yet sly features and haughty bearing. He tried, but could not match him to any of Genghis Khan's offspring. He knew the Khan had 4 sons, the eldest Chochi, valiant and fierce, the second Chagatai, quick-tempered but shrewd, the third Ogadai, the present emperor of Mongolia, gentle of disposition, and the youngest Tolui, fiery of spirit. None of their looks quite matched this Huo Du. Chu Chu Chi said, Most likely he's just boasting to raise his status. Such bragging is not unheard of. The man's martial arts come from a Tibetan lineage. Early this year, he arrived in the Central Plains, injuring the 3 heroes of Henan with his very first strikes. And later, single-handedly killed the 7 tyrants of Langzhou on the Gansu Road. His name spread across half the land overnight. Who could have guessed he'd get himself tangled in this affair? The other is a Tibetan monk named Daerba, born with immense strength. His martial arts follow exactly the same style as Huo Du, so he must either be Huo Du's senior brother or his martial uncle. Since he's a monk, he clearly isn't here to win a bride. How do you know? He's almost certainly come to assist Huo Du. He continued, The rest of the lechers and villains, seeing these two step forward, abandoned any thoughts of proposing. Yet, back then, Li Mocho had loudly proclaimed that treasures in the ancient tomb were piled as high as mountains, and that within were countless martial classics, such arts as the 18 dragons subduing palms and the Yi Yang finger, all complete. Oh yeah? Is that true? Or is she just fucking lying? Well, obviously. Huge lie, right? The rabble half believed, half doubted, but figured that if they went up the mountain and helped open the tomb, they'd at least gain a share of the spoils. So more than 100 of them came swarming up Mount Zhongnan. Our Beidou formation should have been enough to hold off such second-rate riffraff, keeping them all below the slopes. Even if we could not capture them alive, they would not have come within sight of Chongyang Palace. But fate decreed our sect must face calamity. What misunderstandings followed need not be mentioned again. Guojing felt deeply ashamed and tried to stammer out apologies, but Chu Chu Chi waved his hand lightly and smiled. When one steps outside, smile freely without constraint. Clouds drift above Westlake, the moon hangs in the sky. Palaces and pavilions are but possessions of the outer world. When even our very bodies are not worth clinging to, why trouble over external things? You have spent over 10 years cultivating your inner strength. Have you still not transcended such attachments? Guojing laughed in turn and replied, You are right. Chu Chu Chi chuckled. Truth be told, when I saw the rear halls of Chongyang Palace blazing in the flames, even I was beside myself with rage. Only now have I regained calm. Compared with Brother Ma, who maintained serenity even then, my own cultivation is surely far inferior. Guojing said, When villains come to your very doorstep without reason and commit outrage, who could blame you for your anger? Chu Chu Chi said, With the Beidou formation fully engaged those two demons led a gang of rogues to strike the front of Chongyang Palace. They started by setting fire to the monastery. Brother Hao rushed out of the formation to fight Prince Huo Du, but he was overconfident, and while Huo Du's techniques were strange and uncanny, Brother Hao acted hastily and took a palm strike full on his chest. We had to close formation around him to protect our lines. Okay. All right. I think that's a good time to end today. How did you guys like that? I think he revealed a lot of the questions that we had. So apparently there's a girl, 18-year-old girl, living in a cave. Her name is Little Dragon Girl. Yeah, how much you want to bet our young Guo meets her? How much you want to bet? Cheers. She's in the Bat Cave, yeah. She's even more powerful than Li Mo Cho. Oh shit. Always nice to hear some backstories. Yeah. And who's this Huo Du guy? Is he actually pretending to be a Mongol? Alright, guys. That was good. I think my throat is sore for some reason. She doesn't seem worried about the people coming out of the mountain. She seems to be super powerful. Yeah. Maybe she's stronger than the Big Dipper formation too. Yeah, maybe she'll just kick their asses. Yeah, she seems to be hella strong. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Let's see what happens next. Does Young Guo join the Chenjin sect? Or does he fucking like just run away? She's in the cave for their protection. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. I love you. I will see you next time. All right. Bye.